Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all our iLiv Clinic listeners and fans and followers. So this is basically another session for our podcast.
Yes,
Living
it has
Life
been
by
quite
iLiv.
long since we recorded our last podcast. I was 15 kg heavier during that time. So we're so glad that we get to record another episode today, and we have a very special guest today, and we're going to talk about something that both of us are very passionate about.
Yep.
Which is breathwork, and one of the wonder, I think, that we after how many years we spend in medicine, learning medicine, practicing medicine
and marriage as well, I think.
yeah,
For the past
and
13
at
years.
one point when we hit I don't know, is it a rock bottom or a turning point where
I think it's burnout for us doctors, which is quite
Yes.
easy when you reach a certain level.
and everything was strained, and like I had depression, and he had his
I think
issues
I
and-
had a silent depression.
yeah.
Which I just need to function, as a husband,
Yes.
as a spouse,
Yes,
as a
functional,
father.
functionally,
I just need to
functionally
function
different.
as a human
And
being.
that was our turning point where we cannot find a way out in medicine, the conventional medicine anyway. So, but that brought me into my journey, and there's a lot of modalities out there. I mean, we went to therapies, all kinds of therapies.
And physically, basically, all kind from medicine as well.
Yes, and we stumbled across breathwork.
Yeah.
And that was when we realized that, like, the I mean, when you were born, the first thing that you have to do to indicate that you are alive is to breathe. What the doctors check for is if the baby is crying, to ensure that you're breathing. So for me, how I see breath is like, the connection between you and your core innermost being, or if you believe in the divine, and it is basically you and your source when you are with your breath. So
For me, it was very personal as well. I didn't know, I think, for most males, we don't know that we have this emotional thingy inside of us. We don't have this traumas inside of us, and suddenly, you just feel you don't have the energy, even though you're still young, you're early 30s, but you just
You're not
can't
used to processing it.
Yes. And I just say, what is that thing, just that obstacle that I need to, go past through. And I found breathwork as well after
Bodyworks, breathwork. Some people call it somatic works, where you use your body intelligence to get access to your body intelligence to basically fix and heal yourself. Because we've been using our mind. I had a conversation with our guest before this a little bit about, like, the monkey mind. We try to reason things out, to rationalize, and somehow that doesn't change anything. But when somehow you surrender to your breath and your body intelligence to, just fix things and like don't think about it so much, and just allow yourself to heal through your breath. And that's how that is the magic of it, and we will talk about it more on the mechanics of it with our guests. But and also, as you may know, that is why when we opened iLiv, I said we have to have Bodyworks, especially breathwork in what we do, because I want to make an impact in my patient's life, and I want their life to really change, their health to really change integratively. We say this all the time. You cannot separate between the physical body, the mental,
and the soul,
the mind, the soul, the spiritual, the emotional part. So
that's why we have I feel
component in iLiv.
One of
and one of the
the
things,
ecosystem in iLiv. So one of the 5 pillars is I feel, because it's super important for you to get in touch with your emotions and basically regulate it. As a personal trainer as well, I've seen a lot of clients who, physically they might be fit, but, when their physical is not aligned with their emotions, sometimes, it just crumbles down after that.
Yes, and that is why for the past few months, we have also been partnering with IMD Breathwork, which originates from UAE, Dubai, and we're so fortunate that we have a branch, like a facilitator here.
And the founder.
And the best thing is today we have the founder with us.
Yeah.
Brendon. Thank you so much for being with here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's an honor. How are you feeling, Brendon?
I'm good. Still a little bit jet lagged. I've been flying around the world the last couple of weeks. So I arrived in KL yesterday. So I'm still trying to catch up a little bit, but really happy to be here.
We're so grateful to have you. So maybe you can share, tell us about yourself and what you do and how you got there.
So we need to go back a few years. So I'm originally a creative director, film director, dance choreographer, photographer, videographer, photo, video, sound editor. The sound editor bit's actually really important, but also the creative side. So for the last 20 years, I've been creating shows, writing scripts, choreographing, working with amazing artists like Sam Smith, Rod Stewart, Rick Ashley, and working on choreography for their music videos, and basically been working in the entertainment space to entertain people and create narratives and tell stories. And then about a year and a half ago, I was in Bali, like everyone does, right? I went there for some healing. and I found breathwork and I found sound healing, and it was just incredible. Although what I did in Bali wasn't huge, didn't have a massive impact, but it had enough for me to go, what is this about? I want to understand this better. And I have ADHD, so I have crazy hyperfocus. So when I get into something, I'm like, tunnel vision. And so I got super obsessed with the breathwork and trained up as a facilitator, got really into the science behind it, really into how it works in the body. And then also sound healing and how vibrations and binaural beats and different affirmations and putting people's brains into a certain state can create amazing things. And eventually IMD Breathwork was born. So I'd say the best way to put this is I did 20 years of talking therapy. And I feel like I did more in 3 months with breathwork than I ever did with talking therapy. Because talking therapy, you talk about it, and then it's like, that's it. Great, I know about it now. Woo! Why is nothing changing? Why is nothing shifting? But with breathwork, it was like instant. You go into these states, you have visions, you have all these things happen, you cry your heart out, you shake, you do so many different things. And literally afterwards, it's like something just moves. It just switches out. So with IMD Breathwork, I wanted to create something for other people to experience what I did. And it started off as a side hustle. It was literally, I'm still choreographing, I'm still creating, I'm still doing shows, I'm still doing videos and directing. And then I just created one class. And with my history as a sound editor for the last 20 years, I edited this hour and 10-minute journey that takes them on a process. And it builds up like a story, and it has a climax, and it has these moments. And then it brings you down afterwards and, it comes out at the other end. And I started one class. One class very quickly became a sold-out class every week. So I created a second journey, and then 2 classes, and then 3 classes. And before you know it, I'm getting more from this than I am from a career I've been building for 20 years. So it was actually only last summer. So I had a lot of people come to my class from different countries. It's Dubai, so everyone kind of flies in and out. And everyone kept saying, I'm a breathwork instructor. Can I do this in my country? The next thing you know, I'm having instructors from different countries taking up what I do. And they're already trained breath instructors. And that's one thing we do at IMD. We only take qualified breath instructors. We don't qualify you. There's a lot behind that, which I can unpack later. But we then train them in what we do. Okay. And now we're in 15, maybe 16 today. 16 different cities around the world, growing faster than I ever could imagine. And slowly my career is pivoting over to doing this full time. And now I'm in KL doing a podcast. It's a mind blowing situation. But honestly, I'm just riding it, and you know, we have an amazing instructor here called Sash, and we already have like 4 or 5 classes a week here. One at your studio. So plug. So yeah, that's kind of the shortest version of my journey here, which wasn't that short.
But I really want to pick on what you said about like months of therapy and compared to one session of breathwork if it's really done well and your body's really ready. That was my experience as well. So can you share like the science behind how
I would love to.
How could that be?
Talking therapy, right? And obviously there's a bunch of medicines as well you can take to bring memories up and restore memories up. Now, you're still in the moment, your prefrontal cortex is still engaged, right? So you're remembering everything. When you're talking about it, you're not processing it. You're just talking about it. You're just bringing it to the surface. And you're like, great. Like I said earlier, I now know it. What do I do now? Just see it, you know, notice it, and then see how it changes. Though that doesn't work, does it? Let's be honest. So the thing with breathwork, so I need to go into what we do. And then, because there's 2 different types of breathwork. There's sympathetic breathwork, and then there's parasympathetic breathwork. So you activate the sympathetic nervous system. It takes you into fight or flight. So you activate that stress response. You release cortisol, adrenaline, endorphins. Everything comes out. And then there's PNS, which is parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite. It lowers everything down. It calms everything down. Takes you into your rest and digest. So one alone is great, but what we do is we activate both. So I have this theory, and I feel like the theory is kind of now being proven. So when you come to a session with us, we take you into your stress response. So first off, you'll do up to 45 minutes of breathing. There's some breath holds. There's even screams. We tell you to scream. So if you see all the videos, we're actually telling you to scream because it's such a cathartic release, and you build up to that point. And then there's something, when you put your body in such a high stress response, when it's controlled and you're doing it yourself, there's something called the rebound effect. So you're pushing the stress levels up here, and then if you drop it super fast into the PNS system, there's a rebound effect where you drop below your baseline. So if this is your baseline, you drop below, and you're likely to stay there for longer, and it has a much more prolonged effect to sit in your PNS, your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, and lower all your bodily functions and your hormones, and everything just regulates better. Whereas if you did parasympathetic nervous on your own, yes, okay, it will help you balance, but it will still spike again afterwards when those stresses appear in life. So, the science. I haven't even got there yet. So when you breathe the way we teach you to breathe, which is called conscious connected breathing or somatic breathing, depending which camp you live in, you're off-gassing CO2 really, really fast. Now, CO2 is a waste product of the body, right? So your body is creating at a certain pace. Now, if you breathe fast, you're taking it out, but your body cannot replace it fast enough. So you're lowering the CO2 in your body. When you lower the CO2 in your body, you're lowering how much oxygen is being released. The reason being is there's a protein called the hemoglobin protein, and it carries the oxygen around the body on the red blood cells. Now, if it's got enough CO2 in the blood, it releases a lot of oxygen. So this is great. You know, you oxygenate the body, and your brain gets oxygen, so you're smarter, you're faster, you can think quicker. Your muscles get more oxygen, so you can exercise harder, you can move faster, you stay awake longer, you have longer energy, you lose weight, you burn fat. It's crazy. The list is like unlimited, right? So we're lowering the CO2 to begin with, which means you're having less oxygen. So you get pushed into your sympathetic nervous system, your stress response, right? So what happens is your body goes into vasoconstriction. So literally all around the body, there's less oxygen being released, including the brain. So when this happens, you go into something called hypercapnia. And the oxygen, your brain kind of freaks out a little bit and just goes, oh my God, there's a lack of oxygen. And it diverts the oxygen away from your prefrontal cortex to the limbic system. So prefrontal cortex, logical brain, limbic system, memories, emotions, right? And the reptilian brain, whatever you want to call it. So by quieting this, which is, how do we describe? The logical brain is the thing that evaluates the risk every day. Should I or shouldn't I do that? But the problem is, based on what happened to you in your life, there might be something you really want to do, but your brain is going, no, 10 years ago something happened, and you never resolved that, so now you are acting based on, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. You know, irrational fears, they all come from a trauma that happened probably before you were 7 years old. So we quiet this part, and all the oxygen gets sent to the limbic system. The limbic system lights up like a Christmas tree, And suddenly all these memories and emotions can come up and be processed without the logical brain stopping you. So think about it. Every time you have a bad thought about something that happened that was really upsetting to you, do you go, I'm going to sit here and think about it and let it happen? Or do you go, no, don't think about it. That's your logical brain telling you not to think about it. So we get it out of the way. And now they can all come up. And the beautiful thing is, while you're breathing like this, you're releasing serotonin, you're releasing dopamine, all the happy transmitters. And if you do breathe deep, because in our sessions it can get quite uncomfortable, and, you know, if you breathe deep and push into that discomfort, your pineal gland lights up and goes, hold up, there's something wrong here. And then it'll release something called DMT, which I'll let you Google. And that DMT can take you into an alternate state of consciousness. So not only your memories and emotions coming up, you're also going into an alternate state of consciousness, disconnecting with your body a little bit and processing it there while your body is releasing. You know, in these sessions, people shake, they scream, they cry a lot. You know, crying is the best release in the world. You know, I don't know if you know that they tested tears, and basically there's cortisol in the tears. So when you cry, you release cortisol, which is why it's such a good response to stress and trauma.
But
and
most of the time in our life, it's not safe or it's not proper to cry, to express your emotion and to be authentic, essentially. So
I wish that crying was normalized. And not seen as a weakness or not seen as a, you know, now when I see people cry, I don't say, oh, calm down. I go, let it out. Let it out. Come on. Like, just let it go. It'll feel better afterwards. Because when you release all that cortisol, it resets your adrenal gland. And your adrenal gland can then release something called DHEA. Don't ask me to pronounce it. It's one of these crazy long medical words. But DHEA is one of the happy hormones. So it releases these beautiful hormones into your body. Makes you feel good, rejuvenates you, it increases your libido, it increases your zest. And it gives you more energy, you know, it makes you happier.
It's the mother hormone, actually.
Mother of all hormones.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So that's kind of what's happening in session in breath work. And of course, when you lower stress, we all know that the rest of the body improves. You know, we lower stress, our hormone system works better, our adrenal gland works better, our brain works better, our energy works better, our oxygen intake works. The list is ridiculously endless.
We really function better when we are more regulated and we are having fun. We feel safe to express, you know. So
I think, you know, and there's a lot of research, you know, coming out saying that, you know, initially it was like for like heart problems, you know, it was the cholesterol which is causing all the, you know, the plaques and the blocks, and then suddenly, no, it's not, you know, half of them doesn't have high cholesterol, but they still
half
have
of the people who have research is done.
And then at the end of the day, you know, it's just stress.
Look at me, I eat a lot of food. I try to get bigger, but honestly, I just stay skinny.
Oh, amazing.
When you it goes to say that when you are regulated, your body just function better and you can then behave better. That was my experience as well when I first did breathwork. Like, it's not like you said the release of DMT. DMT is actually one of the molecules and proteins that we release when we are dying.
They call it the spirit molecule.
So it's called the spirit molecule.
That's the polite way of saying it.
Only when you are dying will you produce that naturally. But when we induce this state, so you get to realize what is important, because that is what happens when you die. You realize what is important.
You reflect.
Is to actually relax and just be yourself there, because that is what is needed in the world, right?
There's a lot of things that you can do actually, you know, but you know, the brain is like, no, that's not safe. That's not safe.
The problem is the world we have today is completely dysregulated. Actually, most people are, you know, including me sometimes, you know. It's, we wake up, and this is an average, this is not what I do. I have a beautiful morning process now. But people wake up, they check their phone, so instantly they've got to activate the brain, get them straight out of the into theta brainwave, straight up, you know. And then they see the blue light, and the blue light, the brain thinks it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's like ding! It shoots up the brain waves, and now it's awake, so that's instant stress. Then they get up, they have their coffee, which I'm a complete coffee fiend, so I'm all for the coffee. Then they're replying to emails, then they're driving to work, then they're dealing with work, and they're dealing with bosses, they're dealing with lighting that is like daylight lighting, strobe lighting, you know, and then they got to drive home, then they got to make dinner, and then all these stresses every day. We never used to have this. You know, if you think back to caveman days, you know, the only scared was getting eaten by a lion. You know, so a good way to describe how it gets stuck in the body is like, if you imagine, let's go to the animal kingdom. This is probably the easiest way to do it. You've got the lion, the gazelle, right? So the lion is chasing the gazelle, and the gazelle's like, there's a lion. So it runs, gets away, hides, and the lion goes past, doesn't see him. And the gazelle's like, fired up, the sympathetic nervous system activated, all the muscles activated, the adrenaline, the energy, the cortisol got released. And it's like, it's hyped, you know. So it hides, breathing into the chest. And it sees that the lion's gone. Sweet. Okay, cool. What does the gazelle do? Drops to the floor and it shakes.
Shakes.
It shakes. When was the last time you had a stress and you dropped to the floor and shook? And shook somatically out the body. Because what it's doing is it's activating all the muscles. It's going into the fibers and the tissues and activating down the vagus nerve into the autonomic nervous system, and everything is ready to go. But if you don't get rid of it, it will stay. And you're constantly in that fight or flight. And then it sits in the muscles. So the nervous system has the most amazing memory in the world. Did you know this? And it will remember situations. So you got broken up with. Let's use relationships because everyone can relate to that. You know, someone dumped you or someone cheated on you. You got that pain here and here.
Yes.
Everything went into the gut and the chest and sometimes the hips, right? And it felt real pain. Like I really feel like there's a brick in my stomach. The actual nervous system creating that pain and associating the trauma with the pain. So next time you're in a relationship and you're like, I'm happy. And you notice a small thing that person did that can connect you to that previous relationship, your nervous system goes, I know this, here's the pain. And then they feel the pain. And it's still stuck in their body. I'll give you an example is, I thought I got rid of pretty much most of my traumas. Never true. This is what I learned recently. You never stop healing. I was, I dated someone a few months ago, right? And this person seemed amazing, and all the signs were there of this could be an amazing thing, right? And then kind of a week later, everyone's experienced this. They go a bit quiet, and they disappear, and it was someone was in a different country, so there was this kind of like disconnect suddenly. And then I'd only known this person a week, right? So I wasn't completely invested, but I suddenly started getting my pain in my tummy, like, oh my God, why am I feeling so triggered? Like, what is this? And then I went into a breathwork session, and I had this crazy memory of like 8 years ago from this relationship that I completely forgot about. And in the moment, I was like, I thought I dealt with that. But old Brendon didn't process. Old Brendon went, how can I distract myself? How can I ignore this? How can I do as many things as possible to not think about it? And so, oh my God, I'm connecting the two in my mind. And I thought that trauma was gone, but because it had been so hidden, because nothing had happened in the 8 years to trigger that. And it was so hidden that it hadn't come up. So I needed that trigger to bring it back up. And then, old Brendon would have gone, right, keep busy. This Brendon stopped working, went straight into breathwork, did about 4 intense sessions, 4 days in a row with morning breathwork. And I did no work, and I sat there. And I let the thoughts come up, I let the pains in the body appear, and I just allowed it to process. And in a week's time, it just felt like it was gone. 1 week to get rid of a trauma that's been stuck in my body for 8 years. So, yes, that's how trauma gets stuck in the body. And this is the problem with life today, is we're having micro triggers, micro stresses all day long. So we're permanently living in our sympathetic nervous system. Our cortisol is being released at a rate that's incredible, and then you get cortisol depletion, and then you can't sleep, and then because you can't sleep, you can't regenerate. You get the idea. We can go on and on and on about
Actually,
this.
like 80% of the patients that I see, all of them have adrenal fatigue. Because they cannot regulate, like in a normal body, like in a regulated body, when you need to stress up and the cortisol will go up, and then it will come down again. But like you said, our lifestyle and the expectations that we have on ourselves, even I mean, we just keep the cortisol high up. To cope.
And cortisol is great. It saves us. It stops us getting eaten by tigers. Not literally. And it's great when you need it. But you're right. It's a regulation of the body. When we don't complete that stress process, because the stress process is cortisol up, sympathetic up, blah, 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 blah. And then PNS. Sorry, I always do this line. Parasympathetic nervous system, kicks in by lowering our breath, slowing it down, increasing CO2, allowing more oxygen to be released, and allowing us to come back and process, or cry, or shake, or dance, or yoga, or any type of somatic movement to release from the body. TRE, for example. We don't do it. Even just
Yeah.
Walk around the office, shake it out,
Shake
like
it
be
out,
an idiot, and just allow people to go, who's that weirdo? Just do it, because
But
you'll
if
be
you
a happier
notice,
person.
actually children do that. I noticed it in my son. Like suddenly,
Yeah, they do.
one
They
day,
were
like he was like in his school compound, and we came to meet the teacher, and he was like, "Am I in trouble?" Maybe I didn't know that he was thinking that at that time. But suddenly I saw him, like he was like, "Hi," and then he was like, he looks like normal, but then suddenly he went in the middle of the concourse, and he was like, and he was like lying
Just
down on the
shaking,
floor,
yeah.
and like
Yes.
you know, just
Exactly.
and I was like, what is he doing? But like, thankfully, his school like allows space for children to like actually express
themselves.
I didn't know that he was regulating himself, and I asked him about it at home, and he said, "Oh, I was worried. Like, what were you talking about? Were you talking about me? Did I do anything?"
No, and that's the thing, right?
Yeah. But I
Kids
mean, you
are
know,
so-
that is children. We naturally know how to regulate, but in our day-to-day life, there's not
No.
much time or space, and it doesn't always seem appropriate for us to regulate, like you said, cry.
Well, I disagree.
or-
I don't think people do know how to regulate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think social norms have played
Yeah.
such a part in our upbringing.
That is
that-
why I'm really appreciative
Yeah.
of something like IMD, where
Yeah.
IMD Breathwork, where like we schedule a time for you to actually, okay, whatever happened this week, let's bring it here, and you know, just regulate 1 hour, just be with yourself and breathe, and you know.
Well, the beauty of
really,
IMD Breathwork, and I feel like this is something that we're doing quite different, you know, is there's a huge misconception around breathwork.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's woo-woo, it's spiritual. I even got accused of doing magic once. I was like, if I could do magic, I would charge you a lot more money. So, you know, I got accused of a million things, but breathwork is so based in science and how the body works and how to, you know, regulate and bring ourselves back to an equilibrium, or even a better than an equilibrium state. And the thing with IMD is you show up, you sit down, you listen, you learn. You learn how to breathe. We teach you a little bit about the science so you understand what's happening. We tell you about the things that might have physicalities in the body, which is releasing. And then you put the headphones on, you put the mask on, so you're completely, all your senses are gone. You're just listening and breathing. So you can't hear anyone go next to you, or crying or screaming, and your eyes are blocked. So you're in your own space. And then you follow the instructions. You breathe, you release, and then at the end you listen. We taught you again how to behave now, what to do for the next hour. You know, go and take some time for yourself. Stay away from triggers. Here is a QR code for IMD. We have a free morning breathwork practice. It's free.
Yeah, that's good.
10 minutes, put it in, do it every morning.
Yeah.
Increase your CO2 tolerance, lower your, you know, regulate your hormones, regulate your emotions, lower your stress, lower your anxiety. Now, the reason I say it's different, and the reason I love it, and I think the reason in Dubai we have a massive split between men and women, it's about 50-50, which is unheard of in this industry. Because there is no one showing up and talking about their feelings. There's no sharing. We don't do that because we believe that when you're in a theta brain state like you are after breath work, sharing with other people can project onto other people, and that person might be like, "Oh, I felt," you know, and then they don't because of the state brainwaves they're in at the time. By having a sharing circle, you can project. And also, there's also that person that always wants to give advice. I think you should do this. And you're like, shut up. So with IMD, you know, we're not dancing around. We're not sharing our feelings in the session. You can do afterwards. There's an option for you guys to talk to each other. You know, we're not holding hands. We're not doing any of the stuff that the average man, you know, me man, would see as silly and be embarrassed about. They come, they show up, they do, they leave. They process.
Very simple.
Yeah. So I think that's where IMD are bridging the gap into the world of people that wouldn't normally come and do a holistic wellness, a modality like this. And that's why I think it's growing so fast. I really do. And the headphones are cool. And the sound journeys are amazing. You know, from a geeky perspective, I'm like, this is so cool. You hear all these crazy things happening around you.
I think it's totally different from it because previously we did just, you know, normal breathwork and group breathwork, you know, you hear them screaming and then suddenly there's someone crying, you know, it's just, you know, a bit.
My ADHD can't handle that. I'll be like,
why am I not feeling it? Sometimes, you know, it's
Won't
just
get a
like
focus,
feeling, why can't I feel this thing? Why are they
There's
crying?
pro and cons to
pros and
every
cons,
other ways, but like I agree with you. You do reach that part where, but for guys especially, I feel like Bodyworks is really, I mean, you know, like talk therapies, counselings, or all other kinds of therapies, it's really hard to get guys to be convinced that they are changing. But
I sometimes don't know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
she can come out like 30 different emotions at one time. It's like, what? I'm just confused.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know?
And you know, it's
That's
true
like-
because growing up, and I'm a man, I grew up in a household of men. I had 2 older brothers and my dad. My dad was amazing. Like, he brought us up really well. But I still remember this one time where I was crying and my brother punched me. Don't cry. Like, that's what I grew up thinking, that crying is weak,
It's
you're a
not
man.
comfortable for
Don't talk
people
about
to-
your feelings, that's weak.
Yeah,
And that's what men get. But when it comes to women, come here.
Yeah.
And it's socially acceptable because of the upbringing we have, and
so
obviously
that is
the
why
age
Bodyworks,
bracket we're in. Going back in the day,
back,
before smartphones, before social media, before even the internet.
We have been married for I think 10
13.
years before he did his first breathwork, and I think after that breathwork was the first time that I can really connect. And really I understand and I feel how you feel, like how
It's-
the burden of holding all this.
Everything on
So
the
for
shoulders.
guys, I really
Let me ask
think-
you a question. Sorry, I'm this person. What do you think a real man is these days? In this day and era, what is a real man? An alpha. What would we class as an alpha today?
To me, personally,
Yes.
basically, I think it's someone that is, I don't know, physically, I think there's no issues with males, we have, more muscles and things like that. But I think if they can get in touch with their emotions, they are someone, they are super being, I think. Because you can just regulate, and if anything, comes in front of you, whether it's, relationship or your business and things like that, you can just keep down and cool. And then you can, actually be empathy more, with someone who are, suddenly, just maybe scolding you or things like that. I'm not, and then you just, okay, I know she's just, hurting. There's something, happening behind of it. So I think that is the most important thing, because I think physically there's no issues, you maybe have a more charisma and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you are able to feel, especially yourself, feeling the emotions that are happening, and then, just regulating it, I think. It's not like releasing or just, put it behind. That's what I normally do before this.
Puff your chest up.
Be good. But actually, when I take that journey of breathwork myself personally, physically I was feeling, much more
Sense.
stronger. You have that endurance, you have that stamina. And if I go to marathons and things like that, it's totally, because after 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, just your
It's the
mind,
mind
it's
game.
not just your physical. So that really helps. Okay, just be conscious when breathing. This breath work is happening. And in every competition or anything that I do, I listen to your podcast, your breathwork session. That 10 minutes totally change it.
Amazing.
Totally change it.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's
We're
crazy.
actually we're releasing a 10-minute fix series soon. So there'll be multiple 10-minute sound journeys like that. Stress, anxiety, manifesting, sleep. So I'm developing it at the moment, and it'll be like a subscription thing. You pay a little bit of money each month, and you can access all these 10-minute journeys to fix anything every day.
Amazing.
So you'll hopefully have access to a whole archive soon, and I just keep building it. I'm sure it'll be an app one day.
What about you? What do you think?
What do you think?
I almost completely agree with you. The stereotype of a man for many years, alpha man, is must be strong, must be able to hold your feelings in, must be able to take everything. But then when you look at the stats, I think it's the biggest killer of men under 43 is suicide.
Yes.
No one commits suicide because of a physical injury. It's an emotional one, right? So I believe that, very similar to you, that emotional intelligence is what makes man today. Because we're not in a world where we're fighting tigers anymore. We're not in a world where you have to run away from animals and the puff up your chest is going to win. We're in a world where coping is going to win. So the men who have emotional intelligence can cope with situations better. The men who have regulation in their body can cope with situations better, can cope with stress, can cope with the anxiety. They might not even get it, And then therefore they are there to support their family in a way where it's not do as you're told. You know, now it's an emotional thing. You know, why are you feeling like this? Okay, you're crying. Let it out. Let it go. You know, and help children grow up and more emotionally stable and more understanding. So yeah, I think men today who considered an alpha or in their masculine, you know, we could even say that, is ones who are emotionally intelligent. And when you're more stable, you work better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like an animal at the computer. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm so focused.
How I see it is the men who are regulated and in his masculine is the one who stops running, because I see men running around all the time. Maybe creating success along the way, but your success is like from running from your so-called problem, which isn't a problem anyway. It's actually just part of you being human, which you don't have space to embrace. So
do you know what I love about that statement? Is you're right. Men maybe they still do, running away from their problems. But the problem is they've taken the problem internal into their nervous system, and it's a trauma. So no matter where you run, you're taking it with you.
taking
it
with you.
A friend of mine I know who moves around a lot, and every sort of 2 years he moves to a different country. And there's a lot going on for this. He's an amazing man. But there's a lot going on and he just refuses to process it. So every 2 years he starts to feel the same thing happening. Right, change location. So he's literally running away. But the problem is he takes the same problems with him.
And myself, like a woman in her feminine, if she wants to be in her feminine, she cannot live with a man like that who's always running and we can feel the baggage that you have, and we won't feel safe in that in that space.
I suppose masculine now is no longer I am strong, I can fight. It's now I can deal with stuff.
Can deal with. I mean, and enjoy. Essentially enjoy what you have in the moment, and that is what health is about. It's about enjoying and making the best of. What
personally, like, do you had anything like physically, like a medical condition before you found breathwork, like other than or maybe your clients?
So me personally, medical condition. Well, I had asthma years ago. I don't have asthma anymore, but I feel like that cleared up before the breathwork. But I used to get a lot of pains in the body. So I was a dancer for 20 years, right? So physically, my body's kind of messed up. I've had a million injuries, a million surgeries. And I get lots of pains in my hips, for example, my knees, my ankles, shoulder. So neck, shoulder, okay? So one of the main things I had was I had a lot of tension. I'm trying to think, actually, because it's been a while. My body feels quite loosey-goosey now. But I used to get a lot of tension in my neck, traps, and shoulders, which is obviously related to stress and anxiety. Now, I don't remember if I told you, but when I first started this, I was in a very, very toxic situation. Like way beyond the normal, to the point where I ended up in hospital with a phantom heart attack. It wasn't a real heart attack, but the doctor called it a phantom heart attack. Where your stress and anxiety is so high, your body thinks you're having a heart attack and gives you shooting pains. Your chest closes.
Typical
chest. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. I'd already been doing breathwork up to that point, but I wasn't. The problem was I was doing the healing and doing the repairing and doing all the stuff, but I wasn't changing anything. Even though I knew I had to change the situation, I wasn't doing it. And then you know how the universe works, if you believe in that. It's like, you're not listening, right? Here is something that will make you listen. And literally the doctor was like, if you don't sort this situation out, the next one will be real.
Wow.
And my resting heart rate was tested just over 100 beats per minute.
Wow.
And then I literally, a few days later, I dealt with that situation. I cleared it away and I was on my own. And literally my whole body went, And I had a test about a week later and my heart rate had dropped to below 80. So over 20, 25 beats per minute dropped just by taking that toxic situation out of your life. So
that is what we see in our practice as well.
It just everything went down. So all this tension disappeared, But, in the past I've been on antidepressants. I've gone through that phase of my life and, had to deal with that. I've had an interesting life. There's a lot I could talk about, but I've had a lot of traumas and they're the ones I remember. I'll give you an example there was a breathwork. So where do I start with this? I'll try and keep it as condensed as possible. When I was about 2 years old, my mum left the family. We still knew her. She was still part of my life the whole time, but she left my father, right? And to a 2-year-old, it's not mum and dad are unhappy, mummy's leaving me, right? And I never remembered any of this, and I thought I dealt with it, and I thought it was done. And I did a breathwork journey once, and it was a really deep one. And I had this visualization. I could see this room, right? I could describe the colors of the tile, the carpet, the sofa, where the door is, the steps, everything. And I could see my mum and father arguing, and my mum left. That was the vision. How true it was, I don't know, because obviously I'm a 2-year-old. I'm interpreting this. So I kind of clarified this story was correct and this thing, and it turns out it was. It was a real vision of something that happened. And it turned out to be the catalyst for one of the biggest traumas of my life, in association with what I was attracting and bringing to myself. So by dealing with that and then doing a few more journeys afterwards, I was able to release that from my body. And then suddenly my reaction to those situations was almost zero. It went from being triggered and getting upset and crying and being so upset to, wait a minute, I'm not getting triggered. This is so weird. What's going on? So I was able to release that and let go of it. You know. But yeah, so coming back, that's me. I've had a lot of interesting situations in my life. And honestly, breathwork for me has been an absolute lifesaver. I don't know where I would be right now without it. I think I would still be in that toxic situation, still trying to push through, still trying to not have a heart attack.
That's true. That's a time bomb that, you know, no one wants it, you know, even though you look that you're healthy and, you know, you're fit, but you know, it can just happen,
you know, the outside can be made to
that's
look
why
however we
people
want.
are like, you know, asking, you know, doctors, you know, why do they still have heart attacks, you know, where, even though, you know, they go cycle like 100 kilometers or, you know, they run every single day. But, you know, I think, you know, the most important component, which is the emotion part, is not regulated.
And don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to be breathwork. Obviously, breathwork worked amazing for me. And, you know, the breath is life, literally. You know, try and stop breathing for 10 minutes. And will you live? No. So breath for me, obviously, it's the foundation of everything, which is so important. But there are so many ways, even just sit still. Stop for 10 minutes every couple of hours and just let your brain do whatever it wants to do. What I tell people is see it like a TV show. Step back, let the brain do whatever it's doing and just watch it. And it will be like, oh, that person annoyed me today. And then you'll jump to 5-year-old you and be like, I remember when this fight, oh my God, there's a connection. Oh wow, how did that? And your brain does this all on its own. It's an amazing creature, but if you're constantly occupying it, you don't give your brain a chance to stop, slow down, and process it. So again, I have ADHD, so my brain is completely overactive. It's constantly on fire, and I'm working a lot at the moment to launch IMD and get this to the world because I think we can heal a lot of people.
Definitely.
So I really struggle to take those moments as well. So I always go to bed about 30 minutes before I want to, and I lay there. And if I'm at home, I've got a beautiful blacked out room. It's like a cave.
Nice.
But here, put the eye mask on, put the white noise in my ear, and just go. And I let the brain do it. And I don't engage. Don't think, don't try anything.
Amazing.
It will automatically play stuff out. And it will remind you of something you did 10 years ago that you're ashamed of. And then come back to today. And then what's happening tomorrow? Oh, I've got an idea. And it will just bounce around. And before you know it, I'm asleep. I allow my brain to knacker itself out and just process whatever it needs to process from today.
Amazing. That's
so
amazing.
Good tip for people.
I
like that one. White noise is great as well.
Yeah,
that
white noise,
zones me out. I love it.
Nice. And do you think that, you know, meditation and breathwork is like two completely different?
They're completely different. So it depends which breathwork you're talking about. So in this context, we're talking about sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic breathwork, like the stress response, right? That's not a meditation. That's intense. You know, that's like challenging to release your traumas, blocked emotions, and take things out of your body. And then there's parasympathetic breathing, which is the slow breathing. You know, a lot of people call it the yogic breathing, right? So yes, I would say that's part of meditation because it slows everything down. And when you slow your breath down, as we know about CO2 from earlier in the interview, your CO2 increases, which means your hemoglobin is letting go of more oxygen. So you're getting more oxygen released to the muscles and tissues, allowing you to feel this kind of sense of euphoria or equilibrium. I wouldn't say euphoria, that's a bit much, but, you know, feeling this sense of relaxation and allowing everything to go down and sit very calmly. And you're able to just let your brain do its thing.
And maybe can you like go through the steps that you do in IMD Breathwork, what people will,
What to
experience.
expect from the class.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that they will-
Ready? Breathe. Yeah, so if you're coming to a class, you'll come up to the class, you'll meet the instructor. So in KL, it's Sasha. She's
Sasha,
incredible.
amazing.
And you'll sit down and you'll relax. And she will explain what IMD is, the discomforts that are going to arise. So there's something called tetany that might happen when you lower your CO2 and you off gas CO2 really fast. And you get kind of crampy hands.
Yeah.
You might get a bit of soreness in the jaw. You will probably sweat or feel freezing cold. You might shake. You might scream.
Yeah.
Lots of things might happen. Obviously, it's quite an intense process. So she'll explain all this, and she'll explain that we specialize in helping to release blocked emotions and trauma. So it may get emotional, you may cry, you may do all sorts of wonderful things in the body, somatically releasing, right? And then she'll check that everyone's safe, so contraindications. So she'll check that no one has anything we should worry about. Like pregnancy is the biggest worry. If you are pregnant, you cannot do transformative style breath work. Just can't do it.
Okay.
Do not do it, don't risk it.
Any
don't push it up.
trimester.
The baby's at risk in the first 3 months more than anywhere.
Yep.
And some people, I know some breathwork instructors goes, up
Cancer.
to 3 months you're fine. I'm like, what? You're lowering how much
the
oxygen's being released in your body. What does that do to a fetus? And there's not enough research around it. So
Yeah.
we just
definitely,
don't take the risk. And my understanding of how the body works would be, why would we lower the oxygen to a child that's a fetus growing? So if you are pregnant in any way, just don't do it. If you're trying to get pregnant, do it. It actually helps. It actually does the opposite. It makes you more fertile. It works with your reproductive organs. Your reproductive hormones go around on fire. Your libido shoots up as well from breathwork. So if you're trying to get pregnant, IMD Breathwork. So then we explain that, and then we talk about bodywork. So we do a bit of bodywork in class, and we hold space for people. So we ask if anyone wants to be touched or doesn't want to be touched. So we get permission, always.
Yeah.
Consent is everything.
Yes.
Everywhere in the world about
Yeah.
everything. Consent.
Yeah.
And what we do is, generally speaking, we'll hover above and we'll help move vibrations. It depends what you believe. If you're a believer in energy, then we help move the energy around. If you're more on the science side, then it's moving the vibrations around and realigning the vibrations of the body. We do put our hands on the body. We don't touch in where we shouldn't. And then we also might do a little bit of acupressure. So a lot of our instructors are trained in acupressure. So we can push into pressure points like the center of the nervous system and into the hips and shoulders and neck and so on. We've got an amazing person on the team that specializes in this. So everyone from the IMD family around the world educate each other. It's amazing. We have a bodywork specialist, Chinese medicine specialist, and teaching us all the pressure points. And we're like, whoa, this is so cool. And then we go, are you ready? All right, lay back. Put your eye mask on, put your headphones on. And the journeys always follow the same path. And I don't change it because it just works. There's no point changing a formula that works perfectly. The first track is always intention setting. And at the moment, we have 9 journeys. It's going to grow very soon. We're going to create a lot more. And they are all different theories. Some of them, I would say, are like the more emotional journeys. And then there are other journeys that I feel like, I call them the traveling journeys. Ones that would take you very far into your subconscious and allow you to kind of travel alternate states of consciousness. So I find that's what it does for me. However, someone could do that journey and told me they cried the whole time. So it really is completely different. And then they'll breathe for 20 minutes, doing the 3-part breath, and then either a breath hold and hold their breath for 1 minute, which is super easy when you've been breathing like this, lowering the CO2, building up the oxygen, then the CO2 rises and the oxygen finally gets released. So there's so much oxygen in the body. And then at the end of that breath hold, they scream as loud as they possibly can. It's the best moment. They cathartically release everything. It's so good that we do it twice. So we do another 20 minutes of breathing, another breath hold, another scream. And then, remember I spoke about the rebound effect. So when you breathe like this and you heighten your cortisol, you heighten your stress response, and then you drop it, and we go straight into a parasympathetic dive. So it takes you, so if this is your baseline, it will go whoosh down to here. And then we do some visualizations to help cement everything you've learned that day. A few more breath holds, no more screaming, don't worry, just sighing out of that. And then we have an integration period where we bring people back. And you'll always find the song just before the end is like a dancey song. Because I want people to like start. And you do. You see it every class. They start tapping their feet, start jigging out. And then at the end, they are spaced out as hell. Some still have DMT in their system, or they're just a bit dizzy. They're like, what the hell just happened? And then we go through, now, this is how you behave. Stay away from triggers, stay off your
yeah.
phone for an hour, go and do something nice for yourself, maybe stay on your own and just process, because there is such a theta brainwave state. So we don't want to put anything into their brains. You know, a lot of people say, I saw this, what does this mean? And I go, what do you think it meant?
Yeah.
I would never tell them.
Yeah.
Because if I say anything,
Yeah.
that's all they're going to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. You know, I don't have that ego. I'm not like,
Yeah.
I know how to heal you.
Yeah.
That's not me at all. I'm
Yeah.
like, you healed yourself.
Yeah.
I just facilitated it and gave you the modality to do it. And then we just talk about, you know, the kind of post-breath work. We have a post-breath work document online so people can go and look how to behave, if anything comes up in their body and in their minds, how to deal with it. And then we, like I said, we give them the QR code and say, it's a free breathwork practice for every morning, post-breathwork here, and join the local WhatsApp group so you can keep up to date.
Yeah.
And the thing to remember is the journey you do in breathwork, especially our classes, will be completely different every time you do it.
Yeah.
Even if you did the same sound journey again and again and again and again and again, and I've done mine a million times, you will have a different experience each time.
Yeah.
So if you relate it to the DMT side of things, right? Your body gives you what you need in the moment.
Yes.
So even if you go in strong with like, I want to deal with this, your body might already know that you need to get this out the way first before you can even get close to this. And people come out so shocked. They're like, remember this and had this. And then other people go, don't remember a thing. I can't remember a single thing. They're generally the ones that go really deep. They've gone so deep that their prefrontal cortex is almost completely out the game, right? So the memory part is just not happening.
Yeah.
So they come back
That's what
and they're like,
happened to me.
I just feel different. I feel like something shifted. I feel lighter. And then you hear from them a week later and they're like, that thing that used to trigger me doesn't trigger me anymore.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my husband doesn't annoy me. I'll tell you one story. Actually, I've got this best story
True
ever.
story.
So I had this guy come to class, and this was quite early on, and you could tell he was stroppy. He just had that face, like he was disapproving of everything I said, and he wanted to question it. You know those people who are like, I want to argue. Anyway, so he did the session. He cried. He was locked up. He was really like shaking, somatically releasing. And then he left the session. Okay, cool. Didn't think about it, right? Just kind of forgot. And then he came back the next week, and he was smiling. And I went, are you okay? He's like, yeah. I said, so how was the journey last week? How do you feel this week? He goes, my wife says I'm a nicer person. She says I keep smiling and laughing, and I never used to.
Yeah.
One session, and that massive shift. So he was like, yeah, she told me I had to come back. And now he comes back to classes all the time.
Yeah.
He's in there for,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to call it regulation. So what I say to people is, I think anything from 5 to maybe 8, depending where you're at, sessions in a row get you to a really good space.
Yeah.
One session will be the blow away session. That always happens. First session, as long as you breathe correctly, people are blown away. And so much shifts in that first session, like the proper top line, you know, the skin of it gets taken away. And then each session they break down more stuff. And I find about 5 to 8 sessions, people are like, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just happy.
Yeah.
And then we kind of see them once every few weeks as like maintenance. Or if something pops up in their life that kind of knocks them for 6, they come back to the session to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to watch
Yeah,
because
it
they
is.
actually get to a point where they're like, I just feel great. Going back to therapy. Come every week. Come and talk about the same problems every single week. Don't get me wrong, I know some incredible therapists. I have an amazing therapist based in the UK. He's been brilliant. But the reason I think he was brilliant is because he actually gave me advice. You know, a lot of therapists just let you talk.
Yeah.
And you can do that with your best friend. You know, that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. Maybe cut that. Don't want to be in. Kind of all the therapists in the world are going to attack me now. But no, he kind of really listens and questions me in a way that allows me to come to my own realizations.
Yeah.
And then I say to him, what do you think I should do? And he'll actually give me practical advice on things to do. Like, you know, what to do when those voices pop in your head and start telling you things that aren't true.
Yeah.
You know, how to visualize. He taught me how to visualize. First time I'd ever done it. So I think he's quite a developed therapist because he believes in visualization. He believes in hypnotherapy. He believes in all these things. So he's a really, really developed therapist. Whereas I think just talking alone, my personal opinion, I don't think it has the impact.
Yeah.
Okay, but in seriously, cut that tiny bit out. That could actually get me in trouble. I'm looking at you. Make sure you cut it out. Tag it, put the marker on it, reset, go.
Yeah, so that was what happened to me as well when I did the breathwork. It's not like you said. I think I went very deep. like I can't really remember what happened during the session or what, which is actually good because, and I think for a lot of us, I think we needed to hit rock bottom before we go into alternatives like breathwork or go
I
for
know. And
healing
that's a
and
shame,
go to
right?
Bali or whatever,
Yeah.
But I mean that doesn't have to be the case for everyone.
I get
you
it.
Don't,
And
you don't
that's-
need to hit.
I think that's a lot of the world. Like
Yeah.
I do think, with the rise of the understanding of mental health,
Yeah.
I think people are starting to get it.
Yeah.
But I still think alternative therapies are on the borderline and people are understanding it, So again, like I said, with IMD, we're trying to bridge that gap and get it into the mainstream.
Yeah,
so
make
that
it like
everyone can heal.
accessible, easy. Every week we have it every week if you need
Yes.
it,
Exactly.
What do you think about like if people worry about not being able to understand English so much since yours is in English? Because for me, I feel like language is not it's just about you reading as long as you can understand. What do you think?
No. It's definitely something we've been talking about a lot recently because we're expanding around the world. At the moment, we haven't got the resources to do that yet because we are quite a new company still. So we're expanding into majority of English-speaking countries. And then, honestly, once we've done that, the next step is to start translating everything. So, but if your English isn't great, okay, when I do my journeys, I block out my voice. So not literally, it's there, but I focus on the music and the sound effects and the tones. Because it is weird listening to my own voice. But also there's this thing that if I'm going to listen to someone, I'm going to listen to myself. I can't be like, you're a liar. Oh, damn. So, in a weird way, listening to myself is a good and a bad thing. But I notice that when I'm in the journey, I tend to really focus on the music. And different people focus on different things. So as long as you can understand that this is the scream track. This is when you need to hold your breath. So minimal English to understand the process of it. Or speak to your instructor and say, hey, look, can we work out some sort of physical touch where you give me a sign that we're about to hold the breath? Maybe that's something because the music alone and the breath alone is just so powerful. And I always say to people, as long as you're breathing correctly, it's scientifically impossible not to have an experience.
Yes.
So you just have to stay strong on the breath. You just have to push through that discomfort. Don't worry about it getting too much. Our instructors are trained to notice when it's getting a bit too much and slow you down. We don't want to take you too far. If you go way too far into lowering your CO2 levels to dangerous levels, then it can create a rebound effect of extra acid being dropped into your blood afterwards and lowering your pH too much. So we're all trained in this, so we all know our stuff. So we know what to spot for. If the discomfort looks like it's getting too much or the technique's getting too much, our instructors are trained to come in and slow you down and keep you at a rhythm. And if you're brand new to this and you've never done active breathing in your life, the chances are your CO2 tolerance is super low. So you'll get there fast. So you can breathe a little bit slower and still have the same effects. And then as you get better and you train the muscles around your bellies, so your diaphragm, your intercostal muscles, you can go deeper and deeper. Each session, your CO2 tolerance rises. So just to kind of clarify a little bit on that is the reason people's CO2 is so low is because they breathe so fast. Everyone's breathing. So we should be, if we go back to caveman days, we should be breathing between 6 and 10 breaths. Now we're breathing 20 plus breaths a minute.
Agreed.
Okay, so slowing your breath down, and again, coming back to meditative practice, I would recommend the resonance breath, doing like 6 breaths a minute, 5-6 seconds in and out. And it will slow everything down. CO2 will be higher and your oxygen will be released. Your heart will align with your body. It will increase your heart variability. It will stabilize your immune system. It will... it increases your digestion, it increases so many, it's just so good. I do it when I'm driving. I don't even think about the numbers, I just slow it down. And just keep it nice and slow. And, the benefits are crazy. Just by doing this for a short period every day.
Conscious breathing.
For me, I see it like being more intentional in your life, even about your breathing, something that we just take for granted. And then, but we, like you said, while you're driving, just slow down and just really...
Do not do the fast breathing when you're driving. Okay? You'll get dizzy. It's not good. Slow breathing, yes. Fast breathing, no.
So So, what do you think are the common like misconceptions or things that you want people to understand more about? Yeah.
I think we touched on it, but the biggest the biggest misconception is that breathwork is woo-woo, spiritual, magics. You know, it's not. It's all backed in science. You know, with IMD, you also have the sound healing element. So we use very specific frequencies. So binaural beats, for example, we use a very specific frequency to get your brain into a certain state, ready to deal with stuff. So everything we do is backed by some sort of scientific methodology. So that, I think, is the biggest misconception. Breathwork, that's for like woo-woo stuff. It's not at all. Yeah, we are, I show up to class like this, t-shirt and jeans most of the time. But all right, guys, let's go. And I have fun in the work, and I try and make people laugh in the beginning to get them relaxed. So I think that is the biggest misconception. But I think it all just comes down to ignorance. People don't understand it because we've never been taught it. No one at school said, right, let's go and learn about how the breath works. Still doesn't happen, right?
What about people who are so obsessed about understanding what they see or what they experience during the breath work? That's you. So
I have to understand everything.
What do you?
Well, when you come to class, we explain the science behind the breath, right? So we explain what's happening in your body, and we also explain different breathing techniques to help you in daily life and why they work. And we don't say, we're breathing like this because the spirit comes into your body, and none of that. It's just, this is what's happening. We're lowering the CO2, we're highering the CO2. You get more oxygen, you get less oxygen. So by understanding the science, I think, and doing podcasts like this and helping people get a little bit more knowledgeable on why it's important to spend 10 minutes a day just focusing on your breath. 10 minutes, nothing. I know the world is crazy these days, and I saw a thing on Instagram today that made me laugh, and I can't remember all of it, but the guy was like, just checking you're all doing this that we're now supposed to do because there's a million healing modalities, and also having a job and looking after your kids. But with the breath work, one, it's free. You can breathe anytime for free and activate your breath. And you can do it pretty much anywhere. Throughout this interview, I've been doing different breathing techniques to slow me down. Because again, ADHD, I'll be blah, 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 blah. So I've been doing different breathing techniques to just keep me ready and help my brain focus and help my body react to what you're saying. And I guarantee you haven't noticed any of it. Exactly.
Very good. What about the things you see during the breathwork? Some people are really like so into trying to understand. Like we are breathwork facilitators as well. So like you said, usually we just ask, what do you think? How do you feel about that and all that? So what would be your advice to them?
What advice? Sorry, rephrase the question. What my advice would be to
people who is trying to understand what they see or what they hear, what they see. I think usually, during the session. What comes out?
So obviously, it's very, very different for everybody, and symbolism in their mind is extremely different. There's a lot of things out there where you can go, I saw a dragon. This means X, Y, and Z. But that doesn't take into account your own experience. Your brain can only know certain things. So a lot of what you see is based on your experience in life. And so I'm going to give you the answer I give to everybody. Don't overthink it. The work has been done. You've already let go of it. Just allow your brain to process and go through it. But if you're really stuck, have a chat with ChatGPT. It's really interesting. Hey, I saw this. And it will give you a ton of reasons. And do you know I do love ChatGPT? It doesn't just go, this is the reason, right? It goes, these are all the possible reasons you may have seen this. And then you can decide. I will never, ever, after a session, like you said, I'll never tell people what I think it is. Because all I'm doing is projecting my ego, my thoughts, my feelings. And that's one thing I don't want. There was a saying that I heard recently, not a saying, someone said to me recently, are you not worried about re-traumatizing people? And my reaction was, how do you re-traumatize a traumatized person? They're already traumatized. They just don't know. But they don't think it. But it's affecting them. It's stopping them doing X, Y, and Z. It's making them react in that way. One thing people don't, maybe they do realize, I don't know, is your trauma creates your personality. Did you know this?
Yes.
So before the age of 7, your brain is in permanent theta brainwaves, which means you are so susceptible. Mum or dad could drop a glass in the kitchen, it could make you jump, and that could create a trauma if you don't release it. And you're below 7, you don't know what trauma is. You don't know that shaking it out. Or like you said, your child's been shaking it out. So naturally, they know how to do it. But as social norms come in and says that child, what are you doing? Stop
Yes.
being weird.
Yeah.
You know, rather than, let it go, let's get together. Woo! You know, that's the parent I want to be. I want to be the
Yes,
parent that's
exactly.
John.
It's so good to be that kind of parent now.
right?
Yeah.
So, where was I going with that? My brain shifted onto something else. What was the question again?
You re-traumatizing.
Yeah, re-traumatizing.
Yeah, so someone said about
Traumatized,
re-traumatizing,
yeah.
but one, you can't re-traumatize a traumatized person. And that's a gross misunderstanding of how somatic conscious connected breathing works. Because remember, the prefrontal cortex is disengaged. So sometimes it doesn't remember a thing. And you're allowing your mind to rewire itself in the back. So we don't have to do a talking circle afterwards because you don't need to process anything. You just need to sit, allow, let. That's what meditation's about. You know, it's about allowing things to just be processed.
Yeah.
And again, this is why we don't do showing ourselves, because like I said, before the age of 7, permanent theta brainwaves, everything is susceptible. You can create a million traumas and you don't know them. Now, like I said, after the session, you're in theta brainwaves. So all it takes is one person to make a comment, to criticize, to give their opinion, and someone to project onto them. And before you know it, this person's gone away going, why did he say that? And I don't
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that, moving forward, I think, in this near future, the medical world might, incorporate?
I think they already are.
Yeah.
I think in some countries, for stress, they are recommending breathwork, yoga, meditation. Obviously, the most highly wound up stressed person in the world is probably like that because they don't believe in any of this.
Yeah.
So they're going, that's woo-woo.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think the world's going to catch on because there's science to back it up now. It's not just, the hippie dude that's got crazy dreads, piercings, has a peacock outfit on. It's not just
and
that
like
person
people,
anymore.
I mean, we are more and more open towards things like meditation and we're trying to make it easy, like IMD, like there's like this whole specific things and process that is the same all the time. So I think, we're getting there, and that is what we see as well in our practice. Like I can't change my patient; they want to be fit, be healthy, age gracefully, but you cannot be all those things if you have things stuck in you, like because.
True.
For example, weight. I always say to them that being slim, being fit, it is not what you see on your scale or how many percentage your fat is. It's not just that. It's who you are. If you are someone who is fat on the inside, whatever you do after you lose weight, you will regain back all those things because that's who you are. But with things like breathwork, so you take out all the
So I think
rubbish that was blocking you before
the
this.
journey it's not losing weight, but basically maintaining after that. And that takes a lot of emotional regulation. For you to be calm and know what target you are.
Even
across,
in my practice now, like the most important thing, like for example, resetting your gut. It has to be, there is 5 R and the last R is rebalancing. So you need to have all these regulations. Otherwise, your gut will be unhealthy again. And for adrenal health, you have to rebalance your nervous system. It's always about sleep, regulation. So, and you have to find the modality that works for you. And for me, breathwork is one of the most practical thing.
I think it's the fastest as well.
The fastest,
It's the fastest one to reset your systems. Lower your cortisol, lower your stress, and when you have lower stress and cortisol, your body systems can work better. Like digestion. That's not your immune system, your metabolism. They all speed up and work better. So you can go on the best diets in the world, but if you haven't, got to the underlying cause of the problem, then
you will be choosing unconsciously. You will be choosing things, choosing how you rest, choosing how you cope with stresses differently.
And like you said, mentally you'll make bad choices because you're not feeling in a good place.
Yes.
But what I was saying is like by improving your digestion, improving your immune system, improving your metabolism by breathwork, by regulating, bringing the cortisol down, bringing the stress down, they can work better. So then arguably you can eat a little bit more food and still stay skinny. I eat a lot and I don't eat the most healthy, I'll be honest. When I'm home, I'm really good. I cook, I eat very healthy. But I've been traveling for like a couple of weeks now. It's not easy to find healthy food in Asia. Everything has sugar and salt, and it tastes amazing.
Yeah.
I love the food here. It's one of my favorite cities for food. I just eat everything. Like I got some skewers yesterday, and it was just fat. I was like, cool. But do you see what I mean? As long as you are in regulation in your body, and homeostasis, that's the word I was looking for, then your body will work properly. So then you can indulge a bit more. You can do these things. So yeah, it can't just be a good diet. Because then, do you know, so I have this, I have opinions on this, so I'll give you my opinion. Is a friend of mine sent me this diet she got sent by her nutritionist, and it was a spreadsheet. Like, I looked at it and went, I'm not even going to read that. And I was like, you have to measure everything, you know, this gram. And I went, said, do you think you're going to stick to this? Yes. 2 days later, she was already off it. She was like, it's just too much. It's so stressful. Stressful. So not only does she have to buy all this food and know exactly what to eat and measure it, it's so stressful to do it that she's making her digestion worse, her immune system worse, her metabolism worse. And her hormones are completely dysregulated now. So no matter what you do, your body's not going to digest that food properly. It's not going to take all the micros and macros out of it. And like even if your body's not regulated, your microbiome in your stomach is completely out. And you guys probably know a lot more about this than me, but from what I understand is the things just don't work when you're stressed. And this is why it's an epidemic. Stress is an epidemic, and it leads to anxiety, and then anxiety leads to depression. And this is why we have so many depressed people, you know. And one thing I'm very proud of about IMD Breathwork, we've had multiple people come off antidepressants from coming to regular IMD Breathwork classes. Now that says a lot, because that's a serotonin raiser, right? So if Breathwork is now replacing that serotonin that they're getting from a drug, which has a million side effects, why wouldn't you?
Actually, like depression drug is serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
SSRIs,
It just inhibits, you know, and we are depressed not because we don't have enough serotonin, it's just because it's blocked.
Exactly.
One of the wonders of breathwork that, you know, I stumbled upon actually is sleep.
Yes.
You just get better sleep.
Oh my God,
sleep's
incredible.
Deep sleep is like, especially after breathwork session.
Do you know what though? I do notice there's two types of people. There is the person that goes home and sleeps like a baby, like has the best sleep they've had in years because they've let go of so much. And then there's the other side that you might go home and be processing because you've gone through something really deep tonight. So it does go both ways, but then that person tends to get that night's sleep the next night or the next night. But they were just like, I couldn't sleep. I was wired. I had so much energy. I just wanted to run. You know, so we get. Again, it's so different for every person. It's almost impossible to kind of predict how you're going to be afterwards because it's so different. I've seen so many things happen in breathwork classes that it just, I still get surprised by it.
Right. So, you have any more questions for Brendon?
I think maybe, you know, last
sign off.
Sign off.
Well, guys, I'll talk to camera. So if you do want to come and try IMD Breathwork, we are in Kuala Lumpur and we're expanding around the world. Just go to imdbreathwork.com or IMD Breathwork on Instagram and just click find a class and look for KL. And you can book in. There's like 5-6 classes a week here with Sasha. He's an incredible instructor. And remember to breathe, heal, transform, and thrive.
Right. Thank you so much, Brendon, for being here with us and for making breathwork more and more accessible to the rest of us. And iLiv Clinic is also hosting IMD Breathwork every Saturday now at 5 p.m. So if you're interested, like Brendon said, just go to the website and book a session.
Just try it out.
You
will get a bit addicted to but in a good way, basically. You know, we will transform really physically, emotionally, mentally as well. So thank you very much, Brendon, for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hopefully, you know, we can see more and more of IMD Breathwork.
Oh, you will.
Throughout the world. You will. It's interesting. Thank you very much. And thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Cut.
See you next time.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Saya Coach Dr. Shazif.
Dan saya Dr. Moon, founder dan co-founder iLiv Clinic, dan kepakaran kami ialah membantu high performing leaders and professionals yang tiba-tiba rasa down, dia dah susah-susah membina karier dan kekayaan tapi tak seronok pula dengan kehidupan.
Yang tiba-tiba rasa hilang semangat nak teruskan kejayaan. Bila rasa badan tak sihat dan hilang confident, bila badan tak elok, energi ke laut, emosi berat, burnout, stres dan anxious. Hubungan dengan pasangan dan orang sekeliling pun ke laut. Sampai tiba-tiba confused untuk apa aku buat apa yang aku buat selama ni
Inilah diri kami dulu dan kini kami nak bantu pula high performance ni untuk kembali menikmati kehidupan dengan personalized program and interventions di iLiv Clinic and Wellness yang meliputi aspek kesihatan, fitness, nutrition, mental and emotional health as well as relationship and sexual health.
Sehingga anda mampu kembali menikmati dan rasa seronok menjalani kehidupan anda yang sangat bahagia, perform better, fly higher and live healthy, fulfill and longer.
Adakah anda struggle dengan berat badan?
Rasa tak confident dengan body?
Tak pasti apa punca dan macam kena berperang je dengan emosi dan energi sampai terganggu produktiviti, hubungan dan keintiman dengan pasangan.
Tertanya-tanya, anda ada masalah hormon ke? Penyakit ke? Serius ke tak sebenarnya? Boleh ke tak boleh biarkan je?
Rasa macam masih hidup tapi tak benar-benar hidup. Macam dah mati sebelum mati.
Dan kembali hidup is for you.
Melalui Kembali Hidup, kami adakan webinar mingguan kami di mana kami akan berinteraksi dengan anda dan kongsikan stories, tips dan practical solution yang evidence-based dan step by step untuk anda.
Supaya anda dapat segala jawapan kepada persoalan anda dan selesaikan isu berat badan, kesihatan dan kesulitan-kesulitan yang selama ini membelenggu anda.
Anda juga akan dijemput menyertai dan engage di community atau circle Kembali Hidup di mana anda dapat bertanya, berkongsi, dapat jawapan untuk lebih menikmati hidup anda.
Dan jemput juga anda untuk dorongkan diri anda untuk kekal aktif dan join weekly community workout bersama legend kami Coach Amir Yazman.
Kami juga akan check in hari-hari dengan anda dan share macam-macam story, tips untuk anda menikmati hidup anda.
Dan jeng, stand a chance untuk menangi pelbagai hadiah menarik dari penaja kami untuk anda setiap minggu.
Jangan tunggu lagi. Kalau bukan Kembali Hidup, apa lagi yang anda nak buat supaya anda kembali menikmati dan menghargai nikmat hidup dan kesihatan anda?
Kalau bukan sekarang, bila lagi nak mula menikmati hidup tu?
Best korang bila dapat kembali hidup.
Daftar sekarang di link tertera dan kami jumpa anda di Kembali Hidup. It's time to reclaim your life.